does anyone expect other companies to actually compete with what this guitar reasonably has to offer? If this guitar had been around back when I started in 2004, 2005, whenever it was, this would have completely disrupted the guitar market. And that's a problem. Years ago, not very many players would have had YouTube Guitar's signature model on their industry bingo sheet, and yet, here we are. Even if they did have signature models back then, odds are it would have been a slightly different coat of paint and a signature slapped on the headstock of a major name company's existing lineup with no other real changes to speak of. However, the industry has changed since then, and these guitars are a lot more discerning and a lot more involved in the changes that are made. Not to be outdone, and realizing their place as a very popular YouTube guitar brand, Harley Benton made their way into the YouTube guitar signature market a couple of years ago, releasing artist models for Hunter Engel, better known as Agufish, and Henning Pauly, better known as Ace-Pi 42. While both guitars are absolutely deserving of signature models, it was yet to be seen if there would be another signature model from the brand, or who would be receiving it, until just a couple of months ago. Enter the guitar we're reviewing today, the Guitar Max Signature Fusion, created in conjunction with Max Carlisle, better known as the YouTuber Guitar Max. A couple of months ago, the guitar was accidentally, or purposely depending on who you ask, leaked on the Harley Benton website, and it started making the rounds on the Harley Benton subreddit, which built up anticipation for the guitar's eventual release. When it hit the Thomann marketplace last week, it revealed an incredible spec sheet bringing together a gorgeous emerald green, gold, and roasted neck package for an absolutely phenomenal price of $444. Needless to say, the guitar sold out the same day it was listed. But not only that, if you look on Thomann's website at the time I'm filming this, it says the guitar will be available in several months. I was fortunate enough to be able to get my hands on one before they ended up selling out, and it arrived at my doorstep this past Monday. So I've been able to mess around with it a bit and even use it to record some guitar for my latest cover over on my music channel. However, I haven't gone to review it yet, because that's what we're going to be doing here today, taking a deep dive into the Guitar Max Signature Fusion. As always, we're going to be taking a look at the specs of the guitar. I'll be offering you sound demos for everything you're going to want to hear, letting you know the guitar's strengths and weaknesses, letting you know anything about the guitar that you may want to change, though I don't necessarily think at this price point you're going to have to worry about that at all. But enough of my babbling. Let's get right on into our deep dive of the Guitar Max Signature Fusion model. Alright, so here we are with the Guitar Max Signature Fusion. Doing a little bit different of a camera angle this time. I think it shows things off just a little bit better. And I'm glad to start it with this guitar because it is absolutely stunning in every capacity. The finish, the hardware, the neck, everything comes together and creates a very standout package visually and aesthetically. Part of what makes this guitar so aesthetically pleasing is the choice of woods, so we're going to cover all of that here first, the entire guitar. The body is made out of Niato, not to be confused with NATO, though they are in fact very similar, as they're both general substitutes for mahogany that have a very similar sound profile to them. The top is a little bit more exciting since the guitar is topped with an ultra flame maple veneer, as Harley Benton likes to market it. Regardless of what way you look at it, it is a very, very nice flame veneer on the top. It shows the emerald finish very, very nicely, and it matches incredibly well with the roasted maple neck on the guitar. Now, bear in mind, this isn't just any roasted maple neck. There is a serious flamed figure on the back of this roasted maple neck, and it matches the front figure incredibly well. If you've seen the EMG equipped Fusion that they released about 6 months ago, it is very similar to that, though this appears to be an even higher grade flame, and the whole thing comes together so incredibly well. The fretboard is also made of matching roasted maple, but it doesn't have any of the figuring that the back of the neck has, so you don't get hit with this huge sensory overload by all of the wood figuring that is going on by looking at it from the front. Regardless, it is very clean. You still get a little bit of wood aesthetic on it, and it adds some unique character to each of these guitars. I guarantee that no two of these fretboards are the same, and no two of these guitars are the same as a whole. So let's take a little bit deeper of a dive here into what's going on. The body shape is, of course, the well-known Fusion body shape, which is generally a super strat akin to what you would see from a lot of Charvel's modern offerings. It has a nice, clean, flat top to it, and it rounds out nicely on the back of the body, so you've got very, very clean curves all the way around. You've got the tummy cut, you've got a really nice all-access neck joint. You've got natural wood binding. The finish job is very, very clean. There are no runs in the paint. There are no sketchy kind of edges around where the binding is at, or where the black finish meets top of the body and the brown finish meets the back of the guitar. By contrast, the neck has a light satin finish on it, and that goes for both the back of the neck and the fretboard. It's a little bit less satiny, at least on mine, because of how much I've been playing and recording with it, but that's inevitable with a finish like this. It is incredibly smooth to the touch. There are no rough ends or unusual knots anywhere on the neck. As far as the rest of the neck goes, it is pretty standard Fusion Series fare. 25.5-inch scale length with 24 medium jumbo blacksmith stainless steel frets. The ends are very, very nicely done on this guitar. They're clearly machined, which is expected at this price range, but it's completely flush with the end of the fretboard. There are no sharp edges, none of them are raised. It's very, very comfortable to play and navigate. If you haven't played a Fusion Series neck before, well, you are certainly in for a treat. It's just right in every way that you would want. It's not too thick of a neck, but it's also not too thin. A very comfortable C-shaped profile that sits great in the hand without feeling too overwhelming. Tapers off very, very well up to where the neck meets the body. And because you have this lovely all-access neck joint here, access all the way up to the 24th fret is very, very easy. The best way I can describe it is this is Baby Bear's porridge if it were a guitar neck. At the top of the neck, we have a reversed headstock on the Guitar Max Fusion, which we have also seen on the EMG-equipped Fusion that was released a few months prior. It has a glossy finish on it, which doesn't match the rest of the neck, and I'll admit, it threw me off a little bit at first, but combined with the embossed logo and the gold hardware at the top, it looks absolutely great. Very, very clean job, and it's super premium looking. It makes the flame figuring on the neck really stand out. Since this is a Floyd Rose equipped guitar, we do have a locking nut at the base of the headstock and a retention bar following that, which helps to keep the pitch of the strings as straight as possible going directly into the tuners to help avoid any possible tuning issues there. Speaking of tuners, we have a set of 6 Jinho Rotomatic tuners. And Jinho is a name that might be familiar to anyone who has bought an Amarok guitar in recent months. The Amaroks previously featured Grover Mini Rotomatic locking tuners, but presumably to cut down on costs and because the quality really isn't too much different, they have swapped those for these Jinho tuners, and we have the same ones here on the Guitar Max Fusion. I know some people are going to be sticklers about the whole name brand thing and say the Grovers are better, why did they switch to the Jinhos? But other than feeling maybe a tiny little bit more stiff when you turn them, they do every bit as good a job as Grovers would here. And honestly, if you didn't look on the back of the headstock and notice that the Grover logo was missing from them, I doubt you would be able to tell the difference in practice. As previously mentioned, this is a Floyd Rose equipped guitar, so here at the bridge we have a Floyd Rose 1000 series double locking tremolo. If you're not familiar with what that branding means, the 1000 series uses the exact same mold and the exact same dimensions as the real deal German-made Floyd Rose, but is instead made in Korea. Having owned several German-made Floyd Rose on guitars in the past, honestly, I couldn't tell the difference between the bridge on this guitar and any of those more expensive ones that I have owned. What's even more impressive about this bridge is the value proposition that it represents for this guitar as a whole. Normally, the 1000 series tremolos are only sold to OEM manufacturers to include them on their guitars, but it is possible to find some of these 1000 series bridges on the Sweetwater website for $250. That's more than half the cost of this entire guitar in just the bridge alone. And don't get me wrong, I would spend that amount of money on a bridge like this because it is incredibly good. But when I can spend a couple $100 more and get an entire guitar with it, it's unbelievable to me that they're able to include this on this guitar and still have it be so cheap. Now on to the part that I know everyone is going to want me to talk about, the electronics. The Guitar Max Fusion comes with a unique pickup arrangement of a humbucker in the bridge and a single coil sized humbucker in the neck, which was a popular choice for a lot of 1980s guitars, most famously the George Lynch signature guitars with ESP. It's a pickup arrangement that I honestly love. There's something really cool about having a single coil place the neck like this, and especially a single coil sized humbucker, which has its very own unique tone and overall attack to it, while getting a full-size humbucker in the bridge gives you all of the grit and chunk that you're going to want without having to make any compromises. These pickups are powered by a single volume and tone pot, a 3-way blade switch, and a dedicated mini toggle switch akin to the old Fusion 2 models that allows you to switch between single coil mode and full humbucking mode. Now before we get on our high horse, I know a lot of players have already made up their mind about these pickups and already decided what they're going to switch them out for. But if I'm being completely honest, there's absolutely nothing about these pickups that any pickup replacement you could put in this guitar would do any better. These pickups honestly deliver for anything that you want them to do. And the only limitation that these pickups are going to have is the ones that you ultimately put on yourself as a player. Let's actually start with the bridge pickup, because this is where I think the electronics on the guitar deliver the most. I'm usually not a big fan of Alnico 5 bridge pickups. I find they're a little bit too grainy and thumpy in the bass end, and they don't quite have the treble cut that I look for out of a bridge pickup. But this is great. It's got plenty of raw output to it, a very strong mid-range punch, a nice bottom end that isn't too big but isn't anemic either. It's got a very sweet top end to it without getting ice picky or overbearing. And honestly, the closest pickup that I can compare this to is the Seymour Duncan JB, which if anything is absolutely glowing praise for what it has to offer. What's even more impressive to me about this pickup is its split coil tone. The Plasma X1 has plenty of output to it, so when you engage the coil split, it still has a lot of authority and bite. It leans out some of that mid-range bark and gives it a really cool scrappy kind of attack. Actually really good for punk rock and even some lighter gain hard rock applications. The top end stays really sweet, so you can use it for some lead work, but it is ultimately going to be a bit leaner sounding than if you have the full pickup engaged. I certainly wouldn't compare it to a Strat bridge pickup. It's not quite bright enough for that, but it's got a nice quality unto itself, maybe a little bit closer to a P90. The neck pickup is more interesting by comparison, especially if you've never played a single coil sized humbucker before. It's not completely one or the other, but somewhere in between, and it's ultimately dependent on the pickup manufacturer to decide which way they want to lean. With the Plasma RS2, we're certainly more on the humbucker side of things, with plenty of grunt and a whole lot of low mids. The top end on this pickup is really sweet. It's certainly not clacky or nasal in any way, but I find it's a little bit lacking, which is unusual for a ceramic magnet single coil sized pickup. Instead, the RS2 focuses on a big beefy low end and very grunty low mids. While this is great for having a thick saturated solo tone, if you're deciding to use this for any crunch tones or especially cleans, you might want to dial back that low end because it is going to get very boomy very, very fast. If anything, I'd engage the coil split on the RS2 when you're doing clean tones or just about any other application, honestly. It's a great sounding split coil tone, helps cut out some of those grunty low mids, and adds a little bit of extra sparkle and chime in the top end, again, without getting too thin. Does the Strat neck tone thing surprisingly well with a little bit extra authority because it is that full-size humbucker. And you could apply this for the usual sort of Strat applications, blues, jazz, funk, and it handles it remarkably well. It also sounds great split in the middle position combined with the bridge humbucker. You get that really round, bubbly kind of attack on the wound strings, and you get a whole lot of spank and snap out of the unwound ones. Though it's not a pickup position you'll probably use very often, because it does have a noticeable drop in output compared to the coil split on either of the full-size humbuckers. Even if you're not familiar with Tesla's pickups, you owe it to yourself to give these a try before you start gutting the guitar and replacing any of the electronics. They're genuinely capable of anything you could throw at this guitar, and if there's a very specific tone you are trying to get out of this guitar that these pickups can't deliver, then honestly, you should probably be looking for a different guitar in the first place. Lastly, I've already shown it, but let's take a look at the back of the guitar. It's in this very clean chocolate brown color, and you've got a nice simple layout. You've got the electronics cavity right here. We have the tremolo cavity here with a couple of slots pre-cut into the back plate so that you can access the screws to tighten and loosen the tension on the bridge. And of course, we have the previously mentioned all-access neck joint here. This is very comfortable, very easy to navigate, and it brings together an absolutely incredible package in the Guitar Max Fusion signature. The guitar arrived incredibly well packed, much better than the previously reviewed R458, with plenty of padding to ensure that the guitar box didn't move during transit. It actually took me a moment to get it out of the large shipping box because of how well put together all the padding inside was. Once past that, cut open a couple of strips of tape, slide the top of the box off, and there was the guitar sitting perfectly in place and in absolutely mint condition. It also arrived with all the essentials for handling a Floyd Rose-equipped guitar, including the whammy bar and a set of Allen wrenches for adjusting everything necessary. Oddly enough, I don't think it came with a guitar cable, which I'm used to from Harley Benton guitars, but it's possible that I missed it in the box due to all of my excitement over the guitar itself. As far as fit and finish go, it's impeccable. There are no dings, scratches, nicks, anything that would indicate wear or bad manufacturing anywhere on this guitar. In fact, the only thing I can find that seems anything remotely rough is the inside of the pickup cavities, and it's just the paint that's there. It looks like they could have done a little bit more hand sanding on the inside of it to help clean things up, but you're never going to notice it in practical use, and everything else is so immaculate that I can completely ignore that. The setup is also incredible for coming straight from the factory, with the action being maybe 3/8 of an inch at the 12th fret, which is absolutely insane. Usually I have to do some kind of neck adjustment or setup work, but this is phenomenal out of the gate. It was so good that the guitar almost arrived in perfect pitch as well. It was very minor tuning adjustment I had to do, which I was able to do with the fine tuning screws on the bridge itself, and I was off to the races in maybe 2 minutes. The body is everything you would expect from a quality Super Strat. It's very nicely balanced, all of the lines and curves on it are clean, and it's got just the right amount of weight that you can wear it on a strap and maneuver around easily without putting undue stress on your back. While I'm not really a fan of glossy finishes, the overall finish of the guitar is incredible, and it's so beautiful that I completely forget that my arm is sticking while I am playing it when I'm not wearing this hoodie. While the dark color and the major amount of flame might be a little much for some players, the roast maple neck on this guitar is proof that Harley Benton is going in the right direction by adding this feature to its existing lineups. is an absolutely incredible piece of work. Extremely smooth and easy to navigate, with phenomenal fretwork and a profile that fits both modern and classic players. The only real disappointment about the neck is the lack of inlays. Harley Benton did this previously with the Agufish signature model, as well as the recent additions to the budget active line, so it would have been nice to see some kind of inlays even if it was just simple offset dots. The most underappreciated part of this guitar though is the hardware selection, especially the Floyd Rose 1000 bridge. It is absolutely incredible that Harley Benton can keep the price this cheap and include a bridge that is worth more than half of the guitar's entire price. It feels absolutely incredible, is machined very well, and does everything you're going to want to do as far as tuning stability and guitar acrobatics goes. Speaking of tuning stability, the Jinho Rotomatics are absolutely underappreciated, and while they're certainly not Grovers, they do just as good of a job. And that brings me to my biggest issue with this guitar, and that's, well, nothing. For $444, it is absolutely unbelievable what this guitar offers. The fretwork is incredible, the finish work is incredible, it looks gorgeous, the hardware is top notch, the tones are fantastic. At this price, there's absolutely nothing that I could reasonably complain about without seeming like I am nitpicking. And that's a problem. You could walk into a big box guitar retailer today, drop $400 on a guitar off the shelf, and walk out with a high-end Squier or maybe a mid-end Epiphone. This Harley Benton has specs that not even some $1,000 guitars have. How does anyone expect other companies to actually compete with what this guitar reasonably has to offer? I know, that's the perk of Harley Benton being a house brand. That's the perk of Thomann working directly with the factories so that we get all of the savings on our end instead of the big name companies getting a cut. But this is creating an unreasonable standard for other guitars out there to compete with. Honestly, why would you want to spend $700 on a Fender Player Series Stratocaster other than the name on the headstock when you could spend several $100s less and you could get a guitar with superior specs, superior fit and finish, and absolutely incredible playability and tones? This guitar is phenomenal, but I worry that if Harley Benton keeps up work like this, it is going to create an unreasonable standard for not only Harley Benton themselves, but for other brands in the budget price range as well. Honestly, as far as the Guitar Max Signature Fusion goes, I wouldn't change a damn thing on it, and that's just a fact. Everything about this guitar, from the fit and finish to the hardware, is absolutely incredible, and anything that you could possibly replace or try to upgrade to would be a minor side grade at best. The Tesla pickups work incredibly well in this guitar, giving it a distinctive voice and offering you enough leeway to perform styles as diverse as jazz and bluegrass all the way up to modern heavy metal. I know some players have already got in their minds they're going to swap out these pickups and they know exactly what they're going to change to, but if you're honestly looking for anything this guitar cannot offer with this set of pickups, then you might as well be looking at a different guitar entirely. The only thing limiting about this guitar is the player's creativity and the lack of availability. If this guitar comes back in stock on the Thomann website in anything less than 3 months, I will consider it a modern miracle. But either way, it's a fantastic value proposition for players who want a guitar that can do everything that they can put their mind to and more. And I don't think there's anything more I can say without beating a dead horse here. But I want to know what you think. Were you fortunate enough to get your hands on Guitar Max Signature model? Have you had a different experience with the fit and finish, the hardware, or the pickups that you would like to share? Let me know in the comment section down below. I would love to hear what you have to offer. As always, if you enjoyed what was offered in this video, be sure to leave a like and let me know that you appreciated it. I put a lot of work into these, and every little bit always helps. More importantly, if you want more videos like this in your inbox, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below so you'll know whenever a new video goes live. I have several videos in the backlog that I'm currently working on that I'm hoping to have released here soon. But if you can't wait until then I recommend checking out this video right here. I think it'll have you covered in the meantime.